3, 2, 1, and it's directing.
Okay.
And we are live on Facebook.
Okay. There we are. I think we're on.
I think we are. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for another session of Why Are You Here? I am Paula Miller, the author of the book, Why Are You Here? If you haven't made your purchase, you need to go to www.whyareyouhere.org and make your purchase. You won't be disappointed in this book. Again, I'm here with my co-host, Miss Debra Jackson, and also we have a special guest this afternoon, which is Miss Nissi Hamilton, that is going to talk to us a little bit about sex trafficking with our children, and also we're going to touch base with sexual abuse, because sex trafficking and sexual abuse has a major part that it plays together. So again, we want to come to you and educate you on this particular topic of sexual abuse. As some of you all may know, sexual abuse is the part where you have the caretaker, or either the parent, that allows the child to engage in any type of form of sexual activities. It could be where the child is so much watching porn. It could be where the parent, or either the caretaker, is actually touching the child in a sexual way, or either they're even having sexual activities going on with the child. Whichever way you look at it, it is classified as sexual abuse. So again, we want to talk to you a little bit this afternoon in reference to the sexual abuse and also sex trafficking. As you know, there are many forms of child sexual abuse. The child sexual abuse involves a seduction, as far as it could be involved with a relative, or either it can be an act of committed by a stranger. Sexual abuse can be defined because there are so many forms of it. Also, it's different levels of frequency and variations and situations that occur within sexual abuse. So therefore, we're going to let Ms. Nissi Hamilton speak a little bit in reference to her situation, what she may have gone through, what she knows in reference to human sex trafficking. And Ms. Hamilton, if you could go ahead, please, and kind of just tell us a little bit of what you may have experienced or what you know in reference to sexual abuse.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone, and all the guests of Paula Miller. Thank you so much. How you doing, Dr. Jackson? Thank you so much, you guys, for inviting me to be your special guest. It is truly an honor. You guys, make sure you get the book, Why Are You Here? I think it's very imperative. I got my copy. So, Paula, thank you so much. It is definitely a self-help book, and I'm learning a lot, because I love theory, so this is good. I get to theorize and stuff. But so everybody knows that I'm a human trafficking activist, expert, and survivor. I did not get here overnight. This took some time to be here and to really tell my story and to categorize it in such a way. And I believe I became a powerhouse because people, especially white people, at the time that they decided to open their ear up, it was time. It was necessary to hear how human trafficking was affecting African American girls. And it was time for people to stop thinking that this activity, this oppression, only happened to one particular group of people, that it happens to all groups of people, no matter the race, no matter the color, no matter if you are female or if you are male. And it was important that we heard sex trafficking from all sides. I think that the idea of trafficking, when it comes down to African American girls, is that it's supposed to happen to us. And so we grow up with that notion. And if we grow up with that notion, that means other cultures are growing up with that notion, because mothers and fathers are not at the table where people or where parents can collaborate together and say, these are the children that we need to protect. Because if you only have white people coming to the table saying that these are the children we need to protect, and those children only look white, and the black mamas and the black daddies are not there, then you automatically assume that the ones that are not being protected are the ones doing the trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. If you don't see a Mexican mama there, that don't mean the Mexican people are doing the trafficking. You know, if you don't see a black mama there, that don't mean the black men are doing the trafficking. You know, things like that. And those ideas had to be challenged. And I thank God for the position of that. I've been trafficked since age 14. I've been in court since I was 11. Age 14 is when the trafficking actually commenced. Before that, I was raped. Rape is not sex trafficking. Prostitution is not sex trafficking as well. And I teach this in my masterclass. Prostitution is the sale between two people, the buyer and the seller, right? So the prostitute becomes the seller of herself. That doesn't mean that this is something she wants to do. That just may only mean that this is all she knows how to do. Now, how she even got there, that is the big question, because that is an oppressive state to be in once you become a prostitute. Now, being trafficked at 14, the idea of me being trafficked and the exposure that I got to that system didn't come overnight either. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when people don't understand with trafficking, because most people have this idea that people taking kids off the street and it's happening. Unfortunately, this is trafficking happens through epigenetics. And a lot of times in the African American community, the first traffickers are unfortunately the great grandmothers and the mothers because of a slave tradition. Okay. And not just slavery, it drugs, whatever it was, whatever the economic system of that household was, that child was caught up in that. And so they either became a commodity, because you couldn't be a part of the African American household and become a liability. You have to be bringing something to the table, because 9 times out of 10, mama was single, or grandma was single raising her grandchildren. And we had crack, and we had broken homes, and we had fathers that were absent, or we had fathers who had went to war, and that tradition of the father being outside the household continued. So with that being said, 14, I'm in the system. One of the state's impact partners, which is CPS. So I won't necessarily say CPS. You will hear me say impact partner to the state of Texas, because this is not a downgrade to CPS. This is just us discovering some cracks, because we're losing children, and we're losing children more often than we should. This shouldn't be an injury-prone system. This should be a community of care. 14, living behind a Walmart, because I'm out of the court system. I've aged out of foster care. My mother's in jail. My grandmother's deceased. I'm pregnant. Family says, you know what? You can't stay here with us anymore because you're pregnant. You're a liability. You can't bring anything in the household. You're gonna take from the household. That's the attitude in African American homes. And let's just be real. If you was pregnant, and I'm 32, so you was pregnant way back then, you couldn't stay. You got kicked out. It was easy. You were easily associated as being an adult if you were young having a baby. Pregnant, first thing I need to get a job. Survivor's key. I gotta live. Find a home girl, and the first idea that comes to me, which is her idea, I immediately accept, because I'm in survival mode. Right now, I need to protect everything it is I have. And some of you guys know the story, so I'm just fast forwarding, because at this point I didn't have the baby. I'm living with my homegirl. She's working at a strip club. She got an ID. She's 18, and she tells me, "Hey, won't you come work at the club with me?" And I say, "Okay, no problem." I work at the club with her. Her boyfriend's keeping my baby, and I come home. I'm making little money. And he says, "Well, in order for you to get your baby back, I need $200 a night." Now, at this point, it's not sex trafficking yet. At this point, I'm making the $200. This is labor trafficking. We dismiss labor trafficking in the African American community. We automatically go to the sex. We forget that labor is involved for some odd reason, because most of the time we associate labor trafficking with other cultures, such as the Asian community and the Hispanic community. So here it is, I'm labor trafficked before I'm even sex trafficked. The sex trafficking comes in after I'm actually initiating the strip club because I got to make more money. Now, if I don't make my quota, I can't see my baby.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's a pressure that's on you, an unwanted, unnecessary pressure for you to hold on to the things that are dear to you. Because if you don't perform, if you don't make your quota, then it's life and death for you. And when you a kid, gonna lose a kid, and nobody fought for you, it's fight, flight, or fear. And you got all these running emotions going on at the same time. So you're gonna make the best decision available to you. And that's how I got caught up in that system. And one day turned into another day, turned into one pimp, turned into another pimp that exposed me to more and more and more traumatizing effects of human trafficking. So I hope I didn't take up too much time. I didn't want to, because I know we got an hour. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that information, Nissi. You went through a lot. You went through a lot. So my heart definitely goes out to you.
Thank you.
There are a couple of questions, I believe, Ms. Jackson, that you had in mind that you kind of wanted to have Ms. Nissi to touch base on. So if you could, some of the questions that have been sent in to you in reference to this, could you please elaborate on them, please?
So is Nissi gonna read those, or did you want me to restate? Or
No, just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah,
Ms.
you
Jackson.
can read them. I was looking for my phone to make sure I had them, so we can go over it.
I just wanted to say I'm Debra Jackson, and I am a clinical social worker. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and marriage and family therapist. And so I'm happy to be here and to support Paula in this mission with trying to bring more attention to child abuse. And this topic, I think, is especially important in the mental health community because one reason it's extremely important, if there are any mental health professionals on tonight, is that the state of Texas is requiring many licensures. My licensure, all of them, and nurses, other professions that such as massage parlors, those kind of things. They're requiring people who have licenses to have at least 1 hour of sex trafficking education, CEU education, before we can have our license. And that became effective September 1st. So most people didn't know that and got a shock when they went to get their license renewed and they were told you have to watch this video. And that is how important this topic is and how severe the problem is. I think that Nissi is absolutely accurate in that it's not a topic that we think about until we see it on the news maybe, and then we think that it doesn't really relate to us. But when you start thinking about it, the lid is blown off in Houston in in a very upscale really neighborhood in the Woodlands area. And that's when, most people here really became aware, oh my gosh, this is a societal problem. This is not a Black problem. This is not a white problem. This is not a Hispanic problem. This is not people who work in nail shops being trafficked. As Nissi said, this is not people who work in massage parlors being trafficked, because you're right. A lot of people like to assume that those are the occupations for the channeling of that. But, the education that's coming out on this that I need to have, that other mental health professionals and other professionals in general need to have is extensive about this. So the best education is for someone who lived it, who walked it, who's talking it. So I really, really appreciate this. I did have some questions for you, but I did want you to finish that story because I want to know how you got out of it. I think that the people who are viewing tonight would really want to know, how did you get out of this thing?
I did plan an escape, and shout out to all of my friends and partners with the United States Navy. I am the first, and I could probably say it now because I'm out, sex trafficking victim rescued by the United States Navy, and they took me in. When I got into the military, I had to sign 8 waivers because literally I had no parents. I had nobody to keep my kids. I had so many tattoos. I had to sign a waiver because I had a GED. I had to sign a waiver because I had two dependents at 18.
Right.
I had to sign a waiver because I didn't have a formal address.
Right.
I had to sign a waiver because of my job. There was a lot that went in. I went in during the time of war. Oh my God. It was tough. I remember going to MEPS downtown at 701 San Jacinto. When I went in to take the test in MEPS, just to even be accepted into I had already been out of school for 2 years because I got my GED at 17. And my hair was like funky colored, because at this time I'm strip club. I'm a stripper.
Right.
And I look like the street. And I got like piercings, like a piercing in my face here, the piercing here, and the piercing in my tongue. And it's like there's just piercings everywhere. Like I look like the street. And so I remember when the proctor came in to administer the test, I'm the only Black girl in there. There's nothing but white people. And so the proctor, he's a Black guy. And he's like, listen, I understand, your recruiter told me your situation and I feel for you, but you got to understand, this is corporate America starting at the test. And when these white people come in here, they don't want to feel like they're sending their children to go to war next to somebody that look like you. You got to fix this. This is the first real conversation that I've had with somebody who's told me the truth, nothing but the truth. And I couldn't stand to have my feelings hurt at that time. I had to be strong because, for me, it was offensive. Because I'm like, look, I'm going through something. I need help. But what felt like offense was also correction that I didn't have 5-6 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? And I had to channel through that energy. So I'm in there taking my test and I got this bag over my head because I got color in my hair. And I gotta look like everybody else. So I'm sitting in the back of the classroom, taking that test with this bag on my head. And I remember that Black man walking past me. He said, it'd be such a shame if you came down here, did all this and went through all this persecution and all of this, us talking about you. And they sniggling and giggling and laughing about you over there in the corner. Cause I smell like the streets. I'm being trafficked and you don't pass this test. If you had a high school diploma, all you needed to make was a 10 because we was at war. We had the Iraqi war then. And so, 9/11 had happened 2 years prior. And so, I was like, man, but for me, because I had a GED, I had to make a 50 and above. When I tell you, the people came back, I waited out all night long. I was so funky, y'all, because I was in the heat. I had to sit out and wait. I couldn't wait in with the people. Girl, I was so ashamed. When that man came out there and told me I made a 54, I said, thank you, Jesus. Praise God. Oh, God. I mean, I cried. It was like, I got a second chance at life. I can move on. I can move forward, Jesus. This has got to be the secret of the lifetime that I had to keep, and that was the next biggest hurdle, was having to keep that secret. Because if I had went home and told my pimp, I would have got my ASS whoop because he was losing money. For him, he was losing money. For me, I was gaining a life.
Wow.
So, freedom costs you that much. You gotta be around people who won't just elevate you. You have to be around people who will evolve you. And the military evolved me. It turned me. It took all that negative, ugly, nasty, funky stuff. Because let me tell you something. When you in there, you're gonna be nasty, ugly, and funky too. It's just I got to do it in a professional way. God was like, look, I'm gonna take that and mold you. I'm gonna press that in you, and you're gonna take this and you're gonna do this for me. So that was my first lesson, real lesson, at how to take something that was hurting me so bad and turn it into something positive and be willing to die for it. When you go to the military, you go in there ready to die. And every day I had to make up my mind, Nissi, you got to be ready to die. even today, I have to wake up every day like, Nissi, you got to be ready to die, because there's somebody who don't like you, because you going to tell them all the secrets of how they doing this stuff. There are elite trafficking groups amongst the African American people, and the stuff is being ignored because people are so busy panhandling money, and it's happening within our politicians, and everybody is quiet about it because they too busy got in their hand in their pocket, and don't nobody want to say nothing.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
that's the truth.
Wow.
That is the truth.
So, and it's
I'm here to
huge.
tell you, it's the truth.
Are you're saying that we're losing the volume?
Yeah, I'm losing. I'm not sure. Did you have an earpiece on, Nissi? Because you're kind of going a little low on me. That I barely can hear you.
Who, me? I'm going low.
She was so excited. She was gonna.
Girl, it must be that lag.
Yeah, you were excited. The volume got low on me.
You know, so Nissi, you were saying, you know, that when the proctor told you about how you looked, right? And so you said that you were real sensitive at that time. So one of the things, one of the questions I asked was about trauma, right? So we educate and treat trauma, right? So many victims of sexual abuse, physical abuse, or any type of abuse, you know, have been traumatized. And would you define yourself as having been traumatized?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God.
I don't call you that. I want you to call yourself.
It went from trauma to more trauma. It went from trauma to regulated trauma. Okay. And I thank God for my mind. I thank God for the frontal vortex, because the front of your brain is where you get to make executive decisions. And here it is, for the first time in my life, I get to make executive decisions about my life, things that were going to be effectual for my life. Because you got to remember, when you are a victim of human trafficking, you are a slave. You do not get to operate in independence, because when you're independent, you get to operate in free will. When you're a slave, there's automatic codependence. Right. And codependence require me to be dependent upon another person. There are some people in life who just do better when people tell them what to do. And that's the life that I was transitioning out of. But watch this. That's also the life I was transitioning into. Right. Where somebody else was going to be telling me what to do. This time I ain't got to go have no sex with him because he's my chief and he's going to be held accountable. Right. If he touched me. Before, I was held accountable if somebody did something to me and then I didn't get paid. If there was no compensation, right? And I cannot compensate the person who's responsible for me, and I can't give him his money because I'm his prize. Right. I don't get to be my own prize. I'm a commodity.
So how did you transition that? So when you're so controlled, you're in such a controlled environment, right? Where everybody they tell you to stand, you stand, you stay, sit down, you sit down. And so now you're in the military where they're going to do the same thing, but the sex is gone, right? The demand for sex. So how did you know, even though it's a oppressive thing, I imagine there were some parts of it that you still missed, you know, because it is what was familiar.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something about sex trafficking. When you're ready to be out and you're serious, you're ready to be out. Sex won't even be an issue. The thing that doesn't get developed is social skills. As a result of my human trafficking experience, not that I have bad social skills, because I'm addicted to the drama of my trauma, I tend to find men that have the same issue, but different. They might I find men that can help me build a platform, but couldn't cover me spiritually. Because God was still a center for me. God was still a source to me. And he had to be a source for me, because in order for you to be independent, you get to operate in a free will. Right. When God made Adam, God gave us Adam as an introduction to free will. That was his job. To be free-willed means to be a free-willed and free thinker. To be a free thinker means that you get to express yourself. This is the first time I'm expressing myself without being penalized for having a thought.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because I was just gonna say, depending on that person's trafficking experience, that's what will be most important to her. So, for instance, my trafficking experience wasn't sex. That's not what was most important to me. The most important to me, the thing that was most important to me was being heard. So that's why I'm everywhere. Because my experience forced me to not be heard. Oh, I want to talk to everybody. I'm 32. I want to talk to everybody. I won't tell nobody no. I won't talk because I didn't get to talk.
Right.
But if my developmental issue originated and it was just sex, then that's all you would see me doing. You would know Nissi smart girl, Nissi funny, but girl, don't have her around your man because girl, she gonna do it to him. Because here's the thing, psychologically, when you have a itch, right? Think of it like a drug. Once you get compensated, once you feel that desire, you get that original satisfaction, and then you take it out. You got to find something else to fill it. If you don't fill it with the right stuff, you're going to use the old stuff to fill it in with. Right. So here it is where I have to start dealing with things that, the difference between things that are dormant versus the things that I'm delivered from. Okay? Right. There's a difference. And people get that mixed up. Some stuff may be dormant for some people that I'm delivered from.
Right.
So it would not affect me, because he said the prayers of the righteous, the fervent prayers of the righteous avail as much, does not affect me the same way it would somebody else, because it depends on their issue. Now, I'm a cousin in the human trafficking trade. I'm a cousin to all issues, because this is a perversion. This is a water marine spirit. This is a type of demon that is incomprehensible. You have to have somebody who is an expert in it so that you can understand the protocol of this adversary. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's not a walk in the park type demon. If you look at my story and hear me talk about human trafficking, but you go look at somebody else, like a white girl story, and hear her talk about human trafficking, she's gonna talk, it's gonna be soft, it's gonna be nice, it's gonna be pretty, it's gonna be all dressed up and stuff. When I talk about it, it's like boom, boom, bam. This what I know. Let me tell you what it is. Because her job is to tell her story. My job is to get you saved. Yeah. These are two different people. Do you understand? I want results for my community when I tell my story. If you're not taking notes when I'm talking, then I'm not learning you correctly. I'm not giving you all I got so you can look at your children and know, okay, wait a minute. What you say he did to you? Oh, okay, that sounds like familiar trafficking. I heard Nissi talk about that. Bruh, you got to go. Because before, women were trained that if you had a social economic status in your household and that household required that man's income, if he was touching your child, then you can make provision for him to remain there because he was touching your child, but because his income matched and it affected the whole entire household versus that one child. So I got that issue with that one child, but his money here, so it's taking care of everybody. So how do you say as a Black mother, baby, let me tell you, can you keep taking them touches from him until mama can find a better job? Yep. That's the conversations that need to be had. And those are the conversations that I have that people are scared to talk about. Yeah, because I'm delivered from something that's dormant in other African-American women. They scared to talk about it because we got that sweep it underneath the rug mentality. Yeah. That's called familiar trafficking. You have become a pimp, Mom. Yeah. It is what it is.
It sounds horrible, but it's true, right?
That's true. That's true.
It's horrible, but true.
Yeah, it's horrible, but it's
true. So, Paula,
for so long.
In it, Paula, would this be true? You've certainly gone into homes or heard girls say, I really want to I think being a prostitute would be great. I think getting into sex trafficking, we've, you know, certainly in the mental health field, I was just talking with another clinician, we were talking about the things that you hear teenagers say, or even young, you know, 20-something-year-old people saying, you know, this is freedom, just to get out of a home. You know, they may put this, have a positive spin on trafficking. And I think people might think that that's odd or unusual, but you've heard that, right? You've heard kids say that in
I hear them, as a matter of fact, I hear them say it more than you would actually realize, that children, a lot of times, they would prefer to be sex trafficked to get out of the situation that they're in. And I have to sit there and explain to them, no, baby, sex trafficking is not what you think it is. Because when you say no, they're going to say yes. When you say, I don't want to do this, they're going to say, yes, you do want to do this. And if you choose not to do it, guess what? They're going to beat you. They're going to either beat you or they're going to kill you. So think about what you're saying. The situation that you're in now is not half as bad as the situation that you will be in if you choose to walk out that door and become part of sex trafficking. Yeah. It's not as easy as what you think it is. You may think the grass is green on the other side, but sweetheart, no. Just because your parent or your friend or whoever may say something to you that you don't like, you want to walk out the door and run away. Guess what? You can run away if you choose to, but somebody on the street is going to pick you up. And they're going to pick you up in a van and they're going to take you somewhere and they're going to make you do things that you don't want to do. And when you decide you want to get out of this, it's not going to be easy. You're not going to be able to walk away. You're not going to be able to open the door and just walk out of the door because you choose to. So sex trafficking is not what you think it is. You know, I have to sit there. Like I said, I'm not a counselor by any form, but I do sit there and I talk to children to let them know it's not what you think it is. Your situation here at home is not half as bad as what it would be if you choose to walk out that door and go to the other side. Yeah.
So what do we do, Nissi? Go ahead.
I was gonna just piggyback. I like what you said when you said, you know, it's not what you think it is. This is what's gonna happen. I think the disconnect with people on the other side is that these children are already experiencing it in a household. They just not saying it to you because they are afraid of who they might offend. They have, and that's why I say familiar trafficking is so important to talk about and to recognize. You know, we can't keep living in a house with the uncle that was touching your auntie when she was living, and then now he get to be around the kids. Right. We can't keep doing this. If there's perversion in the household, get rid of it. Yeah. And they shouldn't be around the children. Yeah. We gotta stop this stuff in the tracks. And it happens at home. So if this is a practice that's at home, and this is already acceptable in one kind of way, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the quickest way to take control over my life and do it in the way that I want to do it. So if you hear a young lady saying that, it's because it's already happening at home. When she says she wants to continue to do it, she just wants to take control of her life so she can do it on her own in another kind of way where she ain't got to be forced to love somebody. I want to be forced to love my mama. She the one sent me through this. She the one taught me. I want to be forced to love my daddy. He the one made me do it with his friends because he just got out of jail and he ain't got no job and he needs some money. So now I'm being pimped out. Yeah. But this stuff is happening.
It's not what's going on at home, because a lot of times it could just be a parent and a child in the home. It's just that child is acting out. And so therefore they just don't want to be in the home because they don't want to follow the rules. And so, well, I just rather go out there and sex traffic, you know. No, that's not what you want to do because your mom tell you to do X, Y, Z. You choose not to do it. So now you have an attitude with your mom and you think you want to go out and do sex trafficking. No. But I mean, I definitely understand what you're saying on that part, because a lot of times it is what people fail to realize. 90% of our children have been abused before they reach the age of 17. 90% of them, a lot of times they just don't say anything about it. They keep it all bogged up in them. I would say what it is, our children tend to know who it is that's abusing them, because it's usually an uncle, a cousin, a grandfather, or even a neighbor. It's usually someone that is very close to them, someone that is easily to come in contact with them. That's who's usually abusing our kids, the ones that have easy access to them. It don't have to be someone that they don't know. It's usually someone right there a family member that they are very familiar with because they know the child, they know the likes and in outs, and they know that that child is going to have frequent visits with them, going to feel comfortable with them. So therefore, that's their prey. That's their prey. It's their family members.
Are there, did anybody send any questions in? I didn't want to keep asking if somebody had sent a question in.
I didn't get any questions.
Okay.
I noticed that you did have a few. So, I mean, you can
Yeah.
definitely ask the ones that you have, but I didn't receive any questions.
Okay. So I wanted to, that's why I was asking the question, because I wanted to have Nissi, if she could, to speak to that child, that person, you know, Paula, that you see, that we see, that are, these are not necessarily people who are, you're absolutely correct. There are people who are being trafficked within their own homes, right? And but we're talking about these people who kind of glorify or place a positive spin on getting, they want to get out of the home so bad that they really look at these activities, stripping in clubs, those kind of things. They look at that as something really, really fun to do, something, as you said, that it gives them the ability to kind of make their own decisions, but they aren't able to, you know how unless something has happened to you, you really can't quite get the point of it. So I don't know, if those people are watching, if they're listening, you know, you certainly said a lot that would scare me if I was them, but I'm not them, you know, because these people are young, and you know, it doesn't matter what, sometimes it doesn't matter what you say. What could you say? What could you, what would have rung the bell for what can ring the bell for this age group when we're hearing this? Because it's very alarming to hear someone say that to you in a session, or I'm sure as an investigator or whatever, but you feel powerless because you know that thinking is not going to end well if it is brought to fruition.
Let's address this. Before the word human trafficking even made it to the African American community, it was only in the white community. Okay, that's just God's honest. And what happens is people will make you feel like they have a patent on problems, like they just got it down. Mm-hmm. And when you see human trafficking commercials, mm-hmm. when you see movies about human trafficking, when you see advertisement about human trafficking, the only person that looks like they will ever be successful coming out is the white girl. Mm-hmm. You never see pictures of Black girls with their hands over their mouth. You don't see movies where Black girls are being rescued. Mm-hmm. You got Taken 1, 2, and 3, white girl. Then you got reverse racism, where Denzel Washington played in The Equalizer, and you got a Black man going to rescue a white girl. When are we going to see the movie about the Black man rescuing a Black girl, or even the white man rescuing the Black girl? Yeah. Because we have allowed through the media that it be advertised that the Black girl doesn't deserve to be rescued, to be saved, or to be looked for. That's number one. So you got Black girls that want a voice. Mm-hmm. They want to have something to say. Mm-hmm. And sex trafficking is the hottest topic. This is just think of it like a demon, because it is. This is a demon I want to go play with. Think of it like them witchcraft and sorcery. I want to go play with this. I want to go play with this Ouija board over here, because if I do it, then I know for sure I can get your attention. Mm-hmm. If I do it, I know for sure you're going to listen to me and you're going to give me that conversation that I need. And then maybe if you say something I like, I can slip into you and tell you what it is I really want to talk about, because I might not really want to do anything in human trafficking. I might just got something I want to tell you, and I do not know how to process this because I'm not at the developmental age. That right there, what you experiencing when you see girls say that, that's called adultification. That's a clear case of adultification. And that is one of the triggers for human trafficking. And adultification is when You got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old child who is having to apply life applications in every facet of their life, but then they don't get to be a child. And the only time they get to exercise being a child is when they're at school. So by the time they get to school, because I was so frustrated that I didn't get to operate as a child at home, that this is the only time I get to act out and be myself. Because I don't have that developmental time. But not only do I have developmental time, I don't have the developmental skill to process this information as fast as I'm getting it.
Mhm.
So the only way I know how to process it is in a way where it seems like I'm acting out, because that's the only way I can get your attention. It's no different than God. God, first of all, when God sends offenses, because he said in the Bible that offenses will come. When he sends offenses, sometimes he don't send offenses but for it to fix the other person. Sometimes he sent it to fix you.
Mhm.
He said faith without works is dead. So if he gives you an offense, it's so that you can work your faith.
Mhm.
So here it is. That's a principle. That's a law and a principle. You got these kids getting these laws and these principles faster than they can process the information. And when you got laws and principles coming at you and you don't understand what it is, then what happens is you become bitter. You become jealous. You become envious. And bitterness is, oh, I don't like that person, or I don't like it because she got that. Bitterness is the unbelief that God will transition your life the same way he's done it for another person.
That's right.
People that are jealous don't want you to not have nice stuff. They want you to have nice stuff. What they don't want is for you to be able to enjoy the nice stuff that you have. I'm gonna mess this up for you so you won't be able to enjoy it. So think about it in that terms. If I'm a young girl and that's what I know you understand, but I don't know how to have a collegiate conversations with you to let you know how unintelligible I am about this thing in this area, I'm gonna have the most effective conversation I can have with you, and I'm gonna have it about something that I know you like to talk about, but something that I don't know how to understand, or I don't know how to interpret. I'm saying the wrong stuff, but I know at least you'll listen. So I'm expecting you to correct me like a mother would, because my mama won't do it. But I need you to do it because you're the only person that's gonna give me that attention. So you have to be careful how you treat people. You have to be careful what you do, because it's not just about human trafficking. It's about the response. That's the difference between y'all and everybody else. How you respond. You don't just have MPA. You don't just have LSWS or the initials. Don't just be a psychologist and not be the person that's responsible for how people respond to victims of human trafficking, because that's what the position is for. How you respond will let me know how I can manage the rest of my life. Because what you need to create in me is whose success am I going to be responsible for creating?
So that's important, because let's say, for instance, you do have someone saying this, right? And you want to be able to, so education is important. That's what we're, here about. We're talking about, educating, right? But it's kind of like, I guess in church, when they say you see someone begging, you don't want to just say, God bless you or whatever. The person is hungry, right? So you want to feed them.
Feed your enemies. If
So
they thirsty, give them drink.
How do we feed this horrible disease? How do we effectively have answer beyond, this is not something you want to do, certainly, what do we do? What else do we give them? How do we feed them to get them to hear the passion in us, the LMSW, the LMFT, the psychologist, the doctor, the mother, the uncle, whoever it is, right? How do we go beyond being just someone saying, no, you don't want to do that, to helping them really realize you don't want to do this, and I can save you from this. I can help you make this better choice.
Give them a successor. Give them somebody who went before, that's already done it, and not somebody that's gonna keep throwing book intelligence at them. These kids know when you've been through something. They know. If you're not, the approach is to meet them where they're at. They want, just like adults want people who can relate to them, children want people that can relate to them too. You see how I'm talking to you like this? Because I'm letting you know I'm open. When I talk to kids, I do this. And you know what they do? They come and hug me, or when I can stand right here and do this and not say nothing. And tears are falling. Because you know what this means? I'm open.
Yep.
They want people that's open. If you in your office and you talking to somebody about human trafficking and you like this, this is way too much concern. Because what you're saying to them is, I can't understand why somebody would do this to you and why is this even happening to you. This not the best position because they know it's not supposed to happen. They want you to sympathize with them. Well, this position means I can't afford to sympathize with you because this ain't never happened to me and I'm in shock that this happened to you. So I'm trying to figure it out with you. Kids don't want nobody that's trying to figure it out with them. They want somebody who already been where they at that can expose them to the right answer. The Bible says the enemy come to steal, kill, destroy. Respect the order. There's a protocol. There is protocol. Protocol is the acceptable and appropriate behavior for an environment. If there's protocol in the Bible, because the Bible give you advice on how to deal with it, then there's protocol when it comes down to human trafficking. There's protocol with the pimp. There's protocol with the hoes. There's protocol when you a bottom bitch. There's a protocol. You gotta respect the protocol. Like they say, respect the game, respect the protocol. If I'm coming to steal something from you, that means that my job is to distract you and to keep you from being in a momentous environment. Because momentum will help you move forward in life. I can't teach you how to be in momentum or to be in a momentum environment if I ain't never been there. I can't tell you from a theoretical or theological perspective how to create something that we were already designed to do if I've never been there. People want people that's cousin to their sin. It's no different than leadership. I don't want to serve nobody that ain't never been through nothing.
So what do the counselors, so what do the professionals, what do the counselors, who can they, what are the resources? Who can they connect with to help this kid, this child, this female, this male even, because it's not just a female deal, male too. Right, so what do professionals or paraprofessionals, who do they connect with? What's out there for us? Okay,
I can only tell you what the white folks have done, and I don't mean no harm, but I'm telling you they own it. That's all I can tell you.
Excellent.
I have been consulted.
Me who's on it.
Right?
I'll take it. I have
been consulted and then consulted and then consulted some more. People have studied my life and theorized it from their perspective, and they're doing exactly what you're doing. And they take notes, and you know what they do? They take them notes and they go send that mess, thank you, Jesus. They go and send that great information, and they send it right back to their community. Because what white people are not afraid to do, white people are not afraid to go into the African-American community and find the best that the African-American community have to offer, and then sit at the feet of them and learn everything it is that they need to learn so that they can purge their community from that oppressive ordeal. They don't want it happening.
Right, of course.
We don't do this enough. We gotta be excited about this. I wish there were more Nissis. I wish there were more women that were trafficked in Houston to come out and talk about it. We ain't asking the right questions. How is it that Houston is #1 for human trafficking and the only one you hear about is Nissi? Where the rest of them at, bro? Where y'all at?
They out there.
They out there. They don't know how to articulate the experience. And that's why I say some people, this experience is dormant. For me, it's deliverance. Two different things. I have an altar call. I have an experience of calling on me that requires me to tell you the truth so that you don't evolve yourself in this same type of demonic altar call. It's my job. Everywhere I can do it, because there's healing in this. Healing requires to happen every day. It's not, it don't happen just one time. Okay, there needs to be, it's almost like being a prophet. I'm a prophet of human trafficking. Like, you want to know something, you want to get deep down, nasty, dirty with this thing, let's do it.
It is a deep down, nasty, dirty thing.
Some of this stuff got to be, Paula, you call your girlfriends, and Dr. Jackson, you call yours, you get 12 and you get 12, and we're going to sit down, we just going to talk. And we're going to have this conversation, and we're going to go all the way back to the Bible, and we're going to go back to Tamar, we're going to go back to Rahab, we're going to go back to David, and all of these stuff. David dealt with voyeurism. What you think pornography is? Where you think this stuff come from? This stuff didn't happen overnight. You got Rahab, who they keep calling a prostitute. She wasn't no prostitute. I'm going to tell you something. Hoes don't kill their buyers. I'm not going to kill my cash cow. Rahab put the king on the front line to be killed. That's something that need to be talked about. We don't talk about where this stuff come from. We keep masking it and masking it, or we only let the pastor tell us what we think they know about it. And we don't want to find somebody else who can help expand our minds so that we can see how we've been in the practice of this. You got folks still celebrating Easter. Oh, I'm going to celebrate Easter because this is for the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Let me tell you something. Easter is a celebration of prostitution. But you would know that. You would know that. You would understand about the asterisk. You will understand about why God told Abraham not to offer up Isaac, because back then they were sacrificing children to Molech. Now, CPS, and I ain't talking about them, but that is a form of offering up children to Molech. Because you listen, if I'm a parent and I got a kid I'm dealing with, and the teacher got the report, you got all these people that's got the report, but the U.S. Constitution say that a judge does not have the authority to make a decision on how I raise my kid. That is my constitutional right, and you gonna allow another organization to police my parenting habits when you need to be dealing with me? You're gonna take my child out of school, you're gonna take my child out of the household, and you're gonna police me. You got me under investigation. You're gonna send me to go get some resources, but then I can't get an attorney? How is it? You ain't got a badge or a gun, but you can rearrange my whole life. That's stuff need to be talked about. If CPS in your house talking to you, that's a criminal investigation. Baby, you need an attorney. That's your constitutional right. But you know what CPS workers say? If you don't know your rights, oh well, too bad, so sad, that's on you. Woo! Wait a minute. So here it is. You got a child that's been trafficked. I'm going to take them out of the school. Then I'm going to take them away from the parent. And then I'm going to go put them in the house with somebody else who don't know them.
Yep.
How? And what do we do to justify that? How do we justify conscripted public servitude? Because that's called public prostitution. That's what that is. And what you did was you taught that child that if I have an issue and I go ask for help, that I'm going to create such a problem for myself that it's going to require a hierarchy of people to come and advise me about my situation when there's nobody to deal with me personally. By the time that child gets some personal help, it's going to be 3 weeks down the line because that caseworker got to get the case. The court got to get the case. Then CPS got to find the therapist. And then we got to figure out what mama and them doing so we can get her to court so she can explain herself to the judge and then try to get them in some family group therapy before my issue even get corrected. And I'm sitting up there soaking in this nasty ugliness while everybody talking about me except for y'all talking to me about me. And I got to deal with this still by myself. Government has no right to raise children. They got no right. And we letting them because Black people don't challenge the law. And that's the law of the land. But white people do because it's a constitutional right. It says all men are created equal. Then it said, in God we trust. Yep. That's the U.S. Constitution. That means that when people coming over from Africa and when people came over from Mexico, that means they came here under the belief that they were going to automatically be Christians. So they had to give up all their belief system, everything, all their rituals, all their practices, everything. They had to give it up for the USA, and we're the youngest country in the world, and we still can't get it right. We're the youngest country. That white woman sitting on the Hudson River that came from France called the Liberty Statue got a blindfold on her face with 2 scales in her hand. You want to know why? Because she was supposed to see color. She was supposed to see justice. And that's no justice.
So So this is one way you're coping, right? This is the one way you're dealing with it, is to empower yourself to be out here, to speak it, to teach it, to, you know, to help someone else, right? So you, like you said, why is there only one Nissi then? How can we get more Nissis? How can we get more speakers? How can we get more life lived, experience lived people out there that are not being re-traumatized by saying it? Like, for instance, you are being helped and empowered by speaking it. Someone else in speaking it might be re-traumatized, right? So what do we do? How are you teaching?
Make it okay.
I heard you say you teach something, right?
I do. I teach a human trafficking class. I have a human trafficking 101 class. When I did my first debut on the National Center of Sexual Exploitation, I had over 16,000 people register for my class. And it was amazing. I had FBI agents, CIA agents. I had lots of therapists that were there to get some notes and to talk to me. And since then, people have sent me all over via Zoom to talk about human trafficking so that people can have this one-on-one experience. Paula got me because she had my phone number from way back when, but that ain't none of my business though. But it's hard to get me now because unless you know me, I have to help myself. I'm like, you know what, I can't talk today. You know, I done did 4 of these today. This is my 4th one. Yeah. So you can only, I'm up here drink hot tea.
Yeah, thank you.
Half frizzy, because I've been shaking and talking and shaking all day. So, you know, but we gotta, I think, and thank you, God. I believe that what God has done, because whenever he's going after people, he always raises up a deliverer. Mm-hmm. And I believe in my whole heart, because his word says that we are to return the hearts of the children back to the Father, with him raising me up to where I'm at, that it will create such a space for other Black girls to walk in, to where they don't have to feel guilt and shame, and they don't have to go back through that experience, because I did it for them. I took them cuts and bruises and them beat downs for them. Mm-hmm. You understand? Where you walk into spaces where people are not ready to accept you. They're not ready to accept your background. Let me tell you, when I ran for office, first of all, and people don't give me credit, I was the first African-American woman to run for office as a survivor of human trafficking, mm-hmm. period. So ain't been no hoe run for office until Nissi Hamilton, okay? I don't care what nobody say. I had somebody say, we ain't ready for hoes to be in office. I said, well, listen, technically, bro, I'm still on the poll. I just went from the POLE to the POLL. So it really don't matter. You understand? That wasn't number God, because the old me would have cussed them out. But you know what? I'm saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. So you got to be ready for them comebacks, because people are just not ready to tell that truth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's another great idea. When European men went to West Africa to even get African American people, they participated in all sexual rituals. Mm-hmm. They participated, be it public prostitution, private prostitution, or concubinage. They did. Mm-hmm. They even had private ceremonies because Black men wanted to know how could they make the European money to bring back to the king. They had kings and queens back then, so they wanted to know how could they do this and operate and flourish the way that they did, because they were just as astonished by their economic system as the white man was about ours. Mm-hmm. This was fun for them, but this was also and what those Black women did is they made it okay for what is it called, intergenerational mm-hmm. tension to be lessened, because white men started having babies with these Black women. Mm-hmm. Now, here, part 2, why I'm important. I can have a conversation with white women about how it must have felt, because this is what I find so funny. We're always talking to Black women, which is necessary. This is necessary. But what I find very funny is that we're not talking to enough white women about how did it feel for great-great-grandma to tell you that she had to sit in the house while great-great-great-granddaddy was with his favorite mammy, with his favorite Jezebel, with his favorite wench, because back then women were made to be quiet. They could not say nothing. So while this Black girl was in the house being raped repeatedly by her husband, she had to deal with it. That is oppression. Do you imagine the type of jealousy built up from that right there? We got to deal with that, because that right there will help us understand why we doing this. Because that white woman, she sat through trying to understand why her white husband wanted to be with a Black woman.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because that stuff was passed down, and ain't nobody, for whatever reason, Nissi Hamilton, we ain't talking about that. I thought it'd be good that we talk about this on Paula's show, because why are you here? This is the time to figure this stuff out. This is the time to address these issues. Because if I was white,
you'd have to come on. You'd have to come on a couple of more, 10, 12, 20 more times, right?
We have run out of time. I really, yes, we have talked about
God don't feel like it. Where the time go, G?
I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experience.
Thank you so much.
Knowledge as to what you have gone through.
Yeah,
it has truly been an eye-opener for myself, and I'm sure Ms. Jackson as well.
Yeah.
And of course, our listeners have been listening. I can't begin to thank you enough. I love you so much for just even allowing me to ring your phone and say, Nissi, can you come on my show and speak about human trafficking? Because it is such an imperative subject that people just don't want to talk about. And you said they don't want to talk about it, but we have to start somewhere. And I said, what better person to have on my show to talk about this particular topic other than Ms. Nissi Hamilton herself? I couldn't find another person other than Ms. Nissi Hamilton herself. So again, like I said, we have run out of time on this particular topic. We have to pick this up again in the future, because there is so much involved with sex abuse and human sex trafficking with our children. Again, I like to leave you with approximately 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls, again, are abused in their own families that people fail to realize, or either they realize it, but they just fail to do anything about it.
That's right.
So we do know that childhood sexual abuse is obviously often a traumatic experience and many consequences that a person goes through in life. So that's why we have to make sure that the effects of childhood sexual abuse, it does last into an adulthood for our children. So we have to make sure that our counselors are well educated and equipped to educate the people that sit before them. Again, I thank you. Our time has run out, but I ask that our audience to please tune in next week, where we will have Constable Jeff McGowan, who is running, we will have Jeff McGowan, who is running for constable for Precinct 4. That's going to come on and talk to us about what is going on in Precinct 4, Harris County, that they're doing when it comes to child abuse, and some of the things that he wants to put into place when he becomes constable for Precinct 4. Again, tune in next week, same place. Why are you here? So that we can talk with Jeff McGowan, who's running for constable. And again, if you have not picked up your book, Why Are You Here? I ask that you please pick up your book and read it. It has 10 stories in there. I don't think you're going to be disappointed in reading these stories. Again, I appreciate you, Ms. Nissi, for coming on and talking with us. Thank you, as always, my co-host, Ms. Debra Jackson.
Good meeting you.
Again,
wonderful.
I love you all.
I love
Stay
you.
safe, same place next week, and I'll see you then. Good night, everyone, and have a great one.
Good night.
Good
Take care.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.